Okay, so looking at my watch, we are 5 minutes almost over time. So I would say let's get started, and other colleagues will come in just how they have the chance to participate. So officially now, let me express my welcome to all of you participating in our today webinar on agricultural policy, science and extension in Germany and Uruguay. It's a pleasure to have you all joining us from your different countries, and for sure a very special thanks to our panelists, to our presenters, to Samuel, Maria and Clara, joining from Germany and also joining from Uruguay. That today event is the second of a series that we recently started as a webinar series. The last we had on carbon farming and private sector engagement, also between Germany and Uruguay. And it was also a virtual seminar which we recorded and is available on the YouTube channel of DAUA, just as you also will find the one of today in our channel. Later on, we will inform you. But let me possibly start by presenting myself and also present the project, give you some word about the Uruguayan German Dialogue on Agriculture, the DAUA, in case you don't know yet. My name is 𝗪𝗪𝗶𝗰𝗂𝗹𝘁𝗂𝗍𝗪. I'm in charge of DAUA, and together today with Ines Avila, our communication specialist, who is taking care of the technical setup requirements of this webinar. And for sure, we have a set of other colleagues working with us in the project who are the same important for implementing the project. Let me quickly share some information on the project. This is the Uruguayan German Dialogue on Agriculture. It is a partnership between the German Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Regional Identity, cooperating with the Ministry of Livestock, Agriculture and Fisheries in Uruguay, as well as the National Agricultural Research Institute of Uruguay. And as you can see on this slide, several other actors, which I will not go into detail to spell them all out. I'm trying to move the slides, but on whatever reason, now it moves. The project is based on a joint vision between the two countries. One is for sure that there are different interests, perceptions of problems that are common in the world. And there is also a very long history of agricultural linkages between both countries that date back more than 100 years. And the objective for both is to strengthen bilateral and multilateral relations and have a dialogue between equals. We have been starting the project almost 2 years ago, and so we are in full implementation. And well, the objective is to create collaboration and add value to the agricultural sector by joining forces, stimulate and implement joint activities, exchange of knowledge and ideas. Our objective is the learning between different actors, linking science, research and politics, civil society, private sector. We are working on applied scientific research, which is a work on the soil microbiome, which is done between INIA and the Julius Kühn Institute in Germany. We are working to bring people together on a bilateral dialogue platform between Uruguay and also Germany. And we are bringing also different projects of the region together and also different actors of the region and Uruguay and Germany. Thematically, we are heading to promote climate resilient and resource efficient agricultural production systems. And we are doing this by managing, or we're having different thematic fields of work that we are bringing together actors for. One is the soil microbiome and the soil health, which I already mentioned, which is an applied research work between Germany, Uruguay, and also we try to involve the region. We are working on carbon fixation in soils, which was one of the topics we had on our last webinar call. We are doing this also between Germany, Uruguay, and the region. We are working on bioinputs, and this is a work we are doing not only on aspects of lab, but also across all the different sectors and actors that we have in Uruguay and also Germany and the region. And we entered into work on agroecological extension and gender work, which we recently focused more strongly now. We are doing a bit work on science and public policy and also some kind of beekeeping. This is what we can present. You see the different contacts for the people involved in the project. And well, you might ask yourself now why we are interested in the today topic of the webinar. And in fact, this is easy to respond because in our work on the different topics, we are interested in knowledge management. And we need to know how information needs are identified, how they flow between the need and the offer, between the one who provide extension, between the one who do politics, the one who do the research and science, and the producers. So how are the different linkages? What are the role of the public sectors, the policymakers? And so the question arose, how is the situation structured in Germany and how is it in Uruguay? And how can we learn from each other? So this is the reason of the webinar today, to give you an insight. We will not go into each tiny little detail, but this can be done in a next step. Before we enter in giving the space to the presenters, let me quickly give you some technical recommendations. We have a simultaneous translation between Spanish and English. We have presenters speaking in English. You can receive the Spanish translation. We have Clara who will be speaking in Spanish, and you can easily find the English translation in the Zoom bar on the bottom. There you can select the translation between the two channels. And well, you are all muted and your videos are off. And if you have any questions that you would like to ask, you can use the Q&A button, the question and answers button on the bottom of the Zoom toolbar. And we will address the question after in the panel discussion at the end, after having the three colleagues having presented their input. As mentioned, the webinar will be recorded. You'll get a link to it. And yes, for any technical issues, just let us know in the private chat. That's it from my part. And yes, now I would give the floor to 𝗪𝗏𝗪𝗏. He will be presenting on public agriculture policy and the research system in Germany. Samuel is representing the German Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Regional Identity. He has been working more than 3.5 years already in the division 123, which is the division responsible for general and fundamental research issues, coordination of research in the ministry itself. He is coordinating also several institutes that belong to the ministry, the topics between the linkage between ministry and the institute. And he is works in the coordination body of the AKIS, the Agriculture Knowledge and Innovation System. You will hear these abbreviations several times from now on, from the German side especially. And yes, so I will open the floor for Samuel and the perspective from the ministry policy level. Welcome.
Yeah, thank you very much, Dagmar. I start to share my screen and I hope it will work. Yes. Okay. Yes, as Dagmar already told, I will give you a short insight into the research and innovation portfolio of the Federal Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Regional Identity, from the viewpoint of our division, which is responsible for general and fundamental research issues and the coordination of research of the ministry. Just to start quickly, Germany, as you all know, Germany was once divided, and this is why we also have a divided ministry. We have two official seats, Bonn as the primary seat, which has been the capital before 1993, and then since 1999 we have another official seat in Berlin, which is now closer to the political attention or the political, to the politics, and also our minister is sitting in Berlin. The tasks of the BMLE, which is the short term for our ministry, is federal government function in the policy areas of agriculture, nutrition, forestry, fisheries, and rural development. And there we design and coordinate policy fields, achieve political objectives, priorities, and implement programs. We are accountable to the parliament, participate in the legislative process, and also try to foster international cooperation, and very important for today, provide funding and framework for research and innovation in the respective policy areas. Research at the BMLE is about, it's a big spending or a big part of our spending. BMLE invested around 949 million in research and innovation in the year 2024. The bulk of it goes into departmental research, about 583 million euros for our so-called own institutions. Dagmar already mentioned JKI, and there are several others, and I will go into more details on the next slide. We also have competitive research project funding, which focuses on, for example, animal welfare-oriented husbandry, organic and sustainable farming, and also international research corporations. And to make it even more difficult, we have some Leibniz institutes, which are part of the Leibniz institution, which is a scientific institution with more than 90 science institutes all around Germany, which with very different topics from solar system research until like genetic gene research. And there we have 5 or 6 institutions with the focus on the agricultural area, from agricultural development to plant breeding and also animal husbandry. And we fund them with the half of their budgets. The other half comes from the federal state. I don't know if you know it, Germany is federalized, and we have 16 states, so they pay the other half of these institutes. Then I will focus a little bit more on the departmental research now. We have 4 research-focused institutes, which the FLI, which focuses on animal health, the TI, which focuses on rural areas, forestry, and fisheries, the JKI, which focuses on the cultivating of plants and also technical aspects of it. Then the MRI, which with a focus on nutrition and food, as well as the Federal Institute for Risk Assessment, which does also research, but is more for monitoring the food and lost the word, like the contamination of food but also child toys. And then the German Biomass Research Center, which is it's like a little bit organized differently, but focuses also on the research on biomass usage, and is also completely funded by the BMLE. I have to add, they can also compete in research funding, and they also have a lot of projects from competitive research funding. The BMLE research is governed by the BMLE research plan, which has key thematic pillars. And this research plan is currently under supervision, but as far as it goes now, we will stick to the thematic pillars. Now we have 5, which are climate neutrality, sustainable value chains, One Health, healthy nutrition and transparent markets, and rural areas. And these pillars are subdivided into 56 strategic research areas, which go into a little bit more detail. So climate neutrality is a really broad topic, but subdivided below it are, for example, carbon farming or something like that. And these strategic research areas are then taken by our departmental research institutes, and they focus their activities on them. So the departmental research has specific tasks. The first and foremost task is policy advice. So they deliver scientific foundation for governmental action and also offer legally necessary research-based services in the area of testing, approval, regulation, and monitoring. For example, in the field of agrochemicals or pesticides. And they also conduct short, medium, and long-term research, which is like the strategic research areas. And they focus on knowledge transfer. So they they make the research results user-friendly, publicly available. They have the task to promote young scientists and the further qualification of scientific staff, maintain national and international cooperation, and also represent the 𝗪𝗍𝗍 in European and international expert committees. This makes a close coordination between 𝗪𝗍𝗍 and the departmental research obligatory, for example, through the aforementioned research plan. The second pillar of the spending on research is the competitive 𝗪𝗍𝗍 research funding, where we promote and support a wide variety of national and international research projects, which are carried out by scientific research institutes and also other stakeholders from business, consulting, and practice. And the funding is available for research projects in important subject areas, also, again, according to the 𝗪𝗍𝗍 research plan, but also to like short-term political needs or goals. So, for example, we had each government has some different priorities. Then to manage all these research projects, the Federal Ministry has 2 agencies, so to speak, which is the FNR, which focuses on renewable resources, forests, climate, and international bioeconomy, and the Federal Office for Agriculture and Food. And they manage all the projects with the focus on direct production and consumer protection, healthy diets, resource-efficient land production, or organic agriculture. Then we also spend money on model and demonstration projects, which is the next step after the research. So it's, for example, it has the objective to build bridges between science and practice, and, for example, comes into play in the first-time use of new procedures or techniques, like the implementation of new innovations. The target group are practical businesses with a high level of self-interest, and also companies who want to continue using the process and on a permanent basis. For example, one research area we focus on is the innovation research, and there it is obligatory to combine research institutes with private companies. The expected results of these model and demonstration projects are like to practically test innovations so they can be adopted by other companies, and document these findings and best practice examples to make them available for others to learn, and also to strengthen the network between science and industry. The 𝗪𝗍𝗍 is also responsible for knowledge transfer to consumers and farmers, which is also carried out by our federal agency. And there we have the Federal Information Center for Agriculture and the Federal Center for Nutrition, which provide information and knowledge to everyone in the public, from schools to consumers and to the practitioned farmer. Then also through various project websites, we make the research publicly available. The 𝗏𝗊𝗍 is also heavily invested internationally, and our flagship event on that front is the Global Forum for Food and Agriculture, which is an international platform for global food security and agricultural development. And the next one will take place in the middle of January 2026, with the topic of water, harvests, and our future. And maybe we will see the Uruguayan agriculture minister there as well. With that, I leave you my contact details and hope I did not messed it up too much. And looking forward to your questions.
Thank you very much, Samuel. Well, yes, it's quite a lot of information that we already received from you on the governmental, political, public policy side, to see how the Agriculture Ministry is having a research plan, has structured the work they are doing with science. We learned about these institutes. Some of them we already know. We are collaborating strongly with the Julius Kühn Institute. So for Uruguay, very, very familiar already. We had visitors from the Thünen Institute. So they belong directly to the ministry. We learned about the involvement of the ministry in demonstration plots. So there is also a linkage not only to science, but there is also with science a linkage to the producers, a bit going into extension. And we see the importance that the ministry is giving for funding, for research funding, which is also interesting, and it's quite a lot. And also to see the role of the ministry in knowledge transfer to the broader public. And we learn that it is quite complex, with a whole lot of institutes and a whole lot of institutions responsible doing this for the ministry. Everybody who is interested to learn more about it, contact us, contact Samuel, and we are happy to go into more details in the specific aspect. The next presenter, Maria Gerste, will help us to understand a bit better when it comes to the flow down, looking a bit more on agriculture knowledge and innovation system, about the structure also of extension. Maria will give us a presentation on the advisory services within the agriculture knowledge and information system, the AKIS. Maria is a consultant in the field of AKIS and rural development, has been working at the University of Hohenheim until recently in the field of agricultural knowledge and information systems, in providing advisory services and advisory support material. She's a professional in adult education and curriculum development, organizational development, leadership, and face-to-face and blended learning format. And she's also working now as a freelance consultant and facilitator for the above-mentioned fields of work, so also experienced internationally. And so let's see how much more complicated it can be on the German side in the structure of the policy, science, extension producers. The floor is yours. Thanks, Maria.
Yeah, thank you very much. Thanks. As you said, actually, I might make the whole thing more complicated even, but I also hope to shed light and to give ways on how to better understand this complexity. And indeed, we have a heavily complex system here. And I would talk about the AKIS, Agriculture Knowledge and Innovation System, and specifically shed light on the advisory services or extension. It depends now what we prefer to say, because for us it has a different connotation, advisory services and extension in Germany here. Perhaps before I start, I wanted to give a few words on the structural characteristics of agriculture, also to understand the diversity of actors which we have. Now, I think I do not say something new to you, that in Germany, our agricultural holdings are declining, and they are continuously declining even more, and are about of 255 agricultural holdings right now. Tendency, as I said, even declining more at the same time, and this is a logical consequence of it. Also, the size of these holdings is increasing, but still we have a huge difference in the size of agricultural holdings. In the upper northeast, an average holding size is of 281 hectares, while in the utmost south, in the region I am from, it's 36 hectares. So you see, this diversity, of course, calls also for different support structures and ways of linking their various actors. Labor force until now is almost half of them are family labor. So we have basically almost all agricultural holding, except in the north, we can say, are family holdings. With family labor, more and more there are permanent non-family labor, of course, specifically in the upper north. And there is an increasing number of seasonal labors also, due to the size of holdings, and also less and less family members are working on their family farms. So this is also a change, which gives also challenge to advisory services, actually, and knowledge transfer, because what kind of knowledge do different kinds of actors on a farm need, and how are they provided with this information and knowledge? Now, we are quite diverse in the production. The production value more or less stagnates these years, and we have a diverse production, let's say, array, with the majority about cereals and milk. And pigs also are quite important. So this is really a very, very short information. So also you understand what the technical content of advisory service also are at. Now, when we move on to the agricultural knowledge and innovation system, or in short, the AKIS. Now, first of all, AKIS is a concept. It's not a program, it's not a project, it is a concept. And as such, it is a mental construct. So it's an idea we have in our mind on how to link various actors or stakeholder groups, and how they are involved in creating, in sharing, and using agricultural knowledge. So this is in a very short, in a nutshell, the definition of AKIS. And what is the beauty of it is that it focuses on a more holistic understanding of the entire agricultural sector, and recognizes this diversity of actors which are involved. It looks at their relationships in order to address complex challenges. We know that nowadays we cannot solve problems with one or two actors only. Some will mention this very specific European Innovation Partnership Program, where the program asks that different types of actors. So you have research people, you have practitioners, you have perhaps business people together to develop innovations to address complex challenges. Now, the one very strong point in the AKIS is the knowledge flows. How does knowledge flow between various actors? And we can distinguish various types of flows. And in our analysis of the quality of the AKIS, there is always a very specific look on this one. If we have a look at AKIS, we also think of encouraging collaboration and also focusing and shedding light on the mutual interdependencies also at various governance levels. You will see later when I show you the AKIS map that we operate at various levels. And this is very important for exchanging also knowledge and specifically also for the collaboration. Now, already the fact that we say AKIS acknowledges this complexity of actors in the agricultural sector does not skip any of these actors, but considers each actor as a valuable actor, also considering this various contexts of these people. Of course, each AKIS has strengths and weaknesses, and the fact that we use this as a concept helps us also to identify strong and weak points of a given agricultural knowledge and innovation system. You were talking about agroecology. You also could talk about other organic farming systems, which could form a boundary in which we then could say, and what is the AKIS? What does the AKIS look like in this specific system? And then we can use it for planning and implementing actors. And of course, it provides the potential to still contribute to an even more functional agricultural knowledge system. That's the idea of improving the current system. So that's the idea of the AKIS. Now, how does it look like, and where do these what are the various kind of stakeholders, and what various types are they? You see here a list of types of actors. They are coming from public administration, who are administrating, coordinating, and of course, policy making. That's their main responsibility. We have research and education. About research, we have now heard a lot, and already here we have a huge diversity of actors. Then we have a huge number of farmer-based organizations, also at various levels. The private sector is an important player, important actor also in the AKIS, and we have other interest groups. Now you see the various colors, and this color code now is also important for understanding the next slide, because all of these AKIS actor groups are important, and they are visible clearly in the German AKIS, and all are very active. This now is a very generic picture or a generic map of the German AKIS. It's a view, a perspective from the national level. Already here we can say it does not exist like that. Because we have, as mentioned, Samuel has mentioned, we have 16 states. Agriculture, education, advisory services are the matter of the states. So each state has more or less a different advisory system, and also works on its own regarding how to design and shape how the AKIS is shaped. But some generalities still can be derived, and we try to demonstrate this in this map. You see the different shades of gray. The outer darker gray one is the federal or the national level. The middle gray is the state level, and the light or rather white one is the local level. And you see at all levels, you see different types of actors. And you see the various colors. Also, I try now to take out some types of actors here. The blue ones, the public authorities. Now here, of course, they are more at the higher level, at the national and state level. So we have the federal ministry, as we have heard already. We have the state ministries, but we also have at district level, actually, the state agricultural offices, which are present specifically in administration and policy implementation, as a policy making until implementation. Yeah, so it's the Ministry of Agriculture, Food and Regional Identity, as mentioned by Samuel, and we have the 16 state ministries. And then we have a number of subordinate state institutions, and some research institutions are of it. We have the 𝗪𝗿, which is the Federal Agency for Agriculture and Food. We have the German Networking Agency, which tries also to link various agencies and institutions. We have the Federal Information Center for Agriculture. Samuel mentioned that it's the public task also to disseminate information and knowledge. And we have the Federal Research and Research Institutes and the Leibniz Research Centers. They are all public authorities. And then when it comes to advisory work, the state agricultural offices are very important and active in only 2 out of the 16 states, and this is in Hessen and Bavaria. In other states, they are less involved in advisory services, rather as coordinating bodies. What we also have, chambers of agriculture in 8 of the states. This is a mix of farmer-based organization and state organization, because their function is a dual one. So this is from public authorities. Then we have research and education as another very, very important component or element of the AKIS. And again, Samuel was talking about research institutions, and here the diversity of the national research institutions. Now we have federal research institutions, we have the Leibniz research organizations, but also our higher education institutions, the universities, and also the universities of applied sciences. They do a lot of research. Yeah. Then at state level, we have state research institutes which also have specific mandates with regard to their topics, who do mainly adaptive research also, in order to come closer to the local conditions. And another extremely important element of the AKIS is vocational education and training providers. You may be familiar, I don't know in how far you know, Germany has this dual education system in vocational education. Yeah. Maybe later, if you have questions, we can talk about that. But also as important are any activities of lifelong learning. And is in this lifelong learning business, let's say, it's a business also, and innumerous actors also are involved, and mainly also private and NGO organizations. For the rest, I have said we have a lot of farmer-based organizations. You see them mainly here at federal level, but they all have their origin, as I would say, also at local level. Example of farmer-based organization. In each village, basically, you have a group of farmers who join together. And this group is joined together at district level and later on state level. And all state level farmer-based organization in their umbrella organization form the German Farmers Organization, DBV. And even they then later are active at Brussels, so at EU level also, of course, with different mandates and tasks. So they all have their specific functions, and advisory services specifically take place at state and at district or even local level. The same is with chambers of agriculture. As I said, they are as the same farmer-based, because in the how can I say, in the structure also farmers have their influence in it, and thus also decide what the topics and what kind of needs need to be addressed in the chambers. So as I said, at the 8 states we have these chambers, but the chambers themselves also built a federation of agricultural chambers for networking, for collaboration, sharing tasks, and sharing responsibilities. Just to mention a few. Now we also have the private sector organizations to a large extent, and you will see that in the next slide. Advisory services are provided by private actors, private consultancy firms who offer to various topics and also under various funding and financial conditions, we have to say, the advice. And also other companies, big companies provide advice, such as the Raiffeisen also, that is active in advisory services and supporting farmers. And the last group are so-called third sector organizations. And here you will find all other professional associations, like those for horticulture, for organic farmers associations, who primarily are member-based organizations to join forces and defend their interests, but also, and this is historically also, to provide mutual advice to their members. And they opened up in the meantime also to their non-members for providing advisory services to farmers. Church and other NGOs, in insurance companies and so on, also provides in certain areas important advice. Church specifically for farmers in difficult social and economic conditions. They have been the first ones to support farmers, to help them out of their situation so that they also see future for their lives. Now, again, coming back to advisory service provision all over Germany, again, you see different colors here. In generally, we can say that the states, of course, are responsible for planning, coordinating, and providing agricultural advisory services. There is a law which says that each farmer has the right to receive advisory services. So this is what we have. The way how this advice is provided differs, as I said, from state to state, but in general, we can say there is private, public, and the chambers who provide these services, but not unisono, but there is always a mixture. And what I show you here in that map is that the dominant advisory service providers. So Bavaria and Hessen, as I said, the dominant provider is still the state, but again, in close collaboration with all other associations, and they call them self-help groups. So they do a common planning and share the responsibilities here. The rows are predominantly private advisory services. So this is in Baden-Württemberg and also in the so-called new states, where the areas, the agricultural holdings are bigger, and also the systems are different. So here the advisory services are privately organized mainly. Now, experience show that also what has been exclusively private, let's say 10 years ago, now the state comes back because the states realize that not all farmers who need advice are sufficiently receiving the advice. So again, this is under change constantly. And what is also historically in Western Germany, the majority, here we have the chambers of agriculture who provide advice to farmers.
Maria, can I quickly check back how many slides you have left?
Okay, I will shorten the last ones. Yes.
Okay, thank you. Without losing the information.
Yeah. Okay, so as I said, there is a shift in the role of the state. I mentioned already that due to this diversity of products, of course, we can say that there is, to almost all topics, we have advisory services, but tendency is that for topics where you can earn money, private advisory firms are active, and for, let's say, topics in public interest like biodiversity, climate change, farm succession, and so on. Here we have rather public and chambers as providers. Advice is provided predominantly individually due to this highly individual holdings, but again, increasingly also this peer-to-peer exchange in demonstration networks, for example, also takes place. Still, the quality of the methodological competences is desirable. This is what we found out in our research project. And when it comes to the right-hand side here also, we have to watch out, where do advisory service providers get the information from? Yeah? And still they get it predominantly from public providers, to a rather smaller degree from research and other research projects. So that is in short what this graph tells us. Now, supporting policies, we talked about money, as we said, and this is a possibility also from which various contents of advisory comes from, and which also helps makes the various states to support also to funding and financing advisory services. We have different contributions and subsidies for advisory services, despite that also private providers provide the service. So there has been accredited organizations and advisors to provide the advice, and the states are coordinating and handling the money later on. Coordinating mechanisms also when it comes to these various state activities now, how at a national level AKIS activities are coordinated. As I said, we have many levels, and so there are also several exchange mechanisms. We have research policy coordination mechanisms with DAUA. This is the German agency for research coordination. So there are working groups and of the departmental research organizations. We have federal and state ministry coordination mechanisms, which is this 𝗪𝗲𝗪𝗂𝗏𝗪𝗂𝗏 with thematic panels, which of course tries to coordinate, which is not an easy task, no? Because states want also to keep their independence, no? And the coordination at national level depends on the willingness but also on the possibilities of the state coordinators. And we have state actors also for education and advisory provision. And then we have also cross-cutting coordination measures, mechanisms like the German Networking Service Agency, which tries to network, to link various actors with the already generated information and knowledge. Still, we are trying to improve that coordination so that more people can benefit from these exchanges. I mentioned the two structures at the federal level, this Bund-Länder, this federal state roundtable, where these 16 AKIS coordination bodies sit together and meet regularly, and they discuss and promote innovation, knowledge sharing, try to improve their communication, and give once in a while their progress reports. And then we have this AKIS Expert Advisory Board with also a number of experts on various topics to provide guidance for better coordination of the AKIS unit. And this federal state roundtable, they look how can research, education, advisory service better be linked up for better knowledge transfer, and they develop a 2-year action plan on this knowledge exchange between the federal and the state levels. And this is my last slide here, where it's specifically mentioned this AKIS coordination unit at the ministry level. It serves in general as a contact point. It chairs the AKIS Federal State Roundtable, and this AKIS Expert Advisory Board promotes AKIS in order to improve, to see gaps and to fill these gaps, to have in general an overview of everything that takes place in the 16th stage, elaborates strategies, and very important also for the EU strategic plan, it leads the evaluation of the AKIS, because also in our current GAP, there is a special section on AKIS, and this also needs to be evaluated. And finally, also this group participates at EU level in this special standing committee on agricultural research group at Brussels, and contributes to building a EU-wider network in order to improve the various AKIS in the various countries. And this is all what I can show you. Thank you very much. Sorry for taking so much time.
Thanks, Maria. Well, I guess the whole system is quite a bit complex, and so it takes a bit time to present it without confusing everybody. I already had some kind of insight, but it's always impressive to see how complex, also complicated, and how many actors are involved, and how challenging it is to bring them not only in the different states, but also on the national level together. Thanks a lot for this insight, and also for the links that we see with what Samuel already presented on the governmental level and at the coordination unit, as we know that Samuel is in there, in this coordination unit in the ministry, how the different linkages are and how broad the actors are. Thanks a lot, Maria. And now we are very much curious to see how the situation is in Uruguay, smaller country, however, only based on agriculture. So is the situation easier, or is it the same complicated? Well, Clara will give us an insight on showing the linkages between research and technical assistance and rural extension in Uruguay. Clara is working in INEA, the National Agricultural Research Institute, in the field of family agriculture, family production. Her presentation slides have been jointly developed with the responsible Directorate on Rural Development in the Ministry of Livestock, Agriculture and Fisheries of Uruguay. Specifically con Fernando Scanga. He would have liked to join our meeting today. Unfortunately, he can't. So he'll receive the link to also see what we have been doing today and give follow-up. Clara has a long-term experience in the field of, as you can imagine, in family agriculture. There is a whole lot of rurality in participation in family production and the linkage to public policies like rural development roundtables, and also focus on rural women and access to land, in general technical assistance and rural extension and rural education. And she has a whole lot of experience in publishing, and this is wonderful to see open access documents, not only peer-reviewed, but accessible to everybody. She has been working with several national and regional and international governmental, non-governmental organizations, but also academic and research institutes, and has volunteered in several other linked to community, social and environmental processes. So she, in her person, she links to the different actors that we already heard who are relevant in this whole process of policy, science, and coming down to the producer. Clara, we will need to hear you. So, perfect. Thank you.
Can you hear me now? I'm sorry. Good morning, everyone. Thank you for the invitation. As you were saying, Dagmar, this presentation was made together between Fernando Scanga from the Ministry of Livestock and Agriculture and Fisheries and myself. And we are going to speak today it's not simple, but only about the linkage about the public extension system. We are not going to talk today about the private sector. We are going to speak about extension, considering that there are a lot of concepts that are connected, and we're going to using them as synonyms. For example, knowledge transfer, for example. So I'm going to start as Maria was presenting. There are several actors who sometimes work together and sometimes don't. And this union can take place if there is any project or any particular object, or not necessarily, but that may later become into a project. And so these collective actors reshape all the time. And as we were saying, this networking actor reorganize all the time. In this sense, we have, in the first place, public institutions, agricultural institutions. There we have INIA, 𝗪𝗲𝗿𝗶𝗰𝗆 Institute, other educational institutions. We have other institutes that are related to extension and transfer, the University of the Republic or the University of Technology, that are public universities, but we also have the Catholic and the University of Montevideo, which are private universities. And then we also have educational institutions that are integrated between the national public institutions, educational institutions that are UTU and rural schools. Also, within the scope of the ministry, we have some directorates and specialized units, and we have the Congress of Mayors. We have different departments. In some other countries, they are called provinces or states. Here we have departments, and the municipalities are the lowest level there, and the mayors of each department make a Congress of Mayors. And so all the development rural tables in the different places get together. They work together within the level of the ministry, but also within the Congress of Mayors. And so, for example, they work together with some public institutions about the needs, not necessarily only about extension, but also about other aspects that are related to a region. Also, we have some different organizations, second level producer organizations and first level organizations. There we have the Society of Rural Development, and also cooperatives, and the second level would be CAF, the Associated Agricultural Cooperatives. Then we also have CREA, that are related to a particular methodology, and other sub-CREAs. Within this universe, there are family producers in Uruguay up to 500 hectares and other characteristics, but more or less, if we think about land, the limit would be 500 hectares. And also medium-sized producers from 500 to 1,250 hectares. And then we have bigger producers that work on other bigger hectares of land. So there are some towns that are related to 𝗪𝗶𝗏, which is another ministry. Basically, there are, I would conclude there, the universe of structures within the extension department. We also, of course, have some private technicians, but they are related to the organizations that I have already mentioned. Then we also have NGOs that have their own technicians, of course, that are private technicians. And finally, we also have media, mass media, and international organizations, of course, United Nations, FAO, ECLAC, and ICA. I'm not going to go deeper into the history of what took place. The history of all the extension system, but there are since the return to democracy in 1995, there have been several programs that have addressed by sector or by field different levels of producers. These programs that address producers are working with either family producers or medium-sized producers. In general, there's no attention given to large producers because they can pay for their extension programs. So these are the ones that have a technological gap. So we focus over here. Up in 2014, the SNATERS is inaugurated. And then finally, in 2020, it becomes SNIDR, which is the National System of Innovation and Rural Development. Both of them have to do with, as I was saying, there's a great focus here on innovation and rural development. Nowadays, what we can see in these systems is that there is a coexistence or transition between a classic research adoption model and a co-innovation model. Both models respond to negative conditions that have arisen through production systems and the low income for family producers. So this low sustainability, these low economic, social, and environmental conditions of these small producers make, on the one side, these environmental aspects, this low productivity, and the difficulties in being incorporated into the value chains. So that is why it is necessary to have an intervention from the state so that they can improve. The justification then for this national system in technical assistance is that the existence of extension services does not guarantee a knowledge transfer with the necessary impact on production units. So it is essential for technical advisors and extension agents to have technical capacity, exchange between peers, and also support from experts in production and management topics, and also in finance, in the economic aspects of the unit between in terms of its relationship with the environment. So to be able to enhance their role as agents of change. And this has taken us to define some technological pathways that these agricultural units, considering, of course, their different characteristics, because in terms of scale, some are small and some are medium-sized, and also the fields of work. These technological pathways become very different, of course, but the extension needs to accompany or negotiate these technological pathways with producers so that they, the state can finance these technological pathways. So finally, when we talk about a system of innovation, we need to have a system that contributes to the economic, social, and environmental sustainability of agricultural production units, and of course, improving their living conditions of the rural population through coordinated action of the ministry and the broader agricultural institutions and producer organizations, as you were mentioning in Germany with all the other institutions. So we try to take into account the producer organizations is not only based on the Ministry of Livestock. So the specific objectives would be to reduce or to promote this effective improvement, also reducing the technological gap by promoting this increased productivity in agricultural holdings, and also trying to reduce this technological gap. Also promoting the effective improvement of institutional capacities of producer organizations. Many times we see that they are weakened, that this possibility of participation, this real participation of producers is not really strong, and those who represent them is not very strong as to be able to help them. So we work a lot with gender and youth, so that both youth people and women are able to participate and, of course, achieve roles of representation within organizations. Also, it is important to strengthen the institutional coordination framework so that this is clear in the territory within the Regional Agricultural Extension Service. Also, promoting the use of information for decision-making by developing an information system that producers may be interested in adopting, so that they, taking that into account, they can make better decisions for their systems. Also, raising awareness through organizations about the sustainability of natural resource management, of course, animal welfare, food safety. Another objective would be fostering the integration strategies, both horizontal and vertical, by forming producer groups and promoting associative ventures with economic content. Another objective would be designing and promoting generational renewal strategies, as I was mentioning, to promote the participation of young people and women in decision-making, and also, of course, training of rural wage earners, because there's a great presence in these of these kind of workers. Finally, we work together, considering these assumptions. We need differentiated public policies. These public policies are necessary considering their needs and their characteristics of the family production, and also in the sense of medium-sized producers. Also, we have the implementation of programs, which will also always be public and private, because there is a connection there. And the private aspect is always incorporated through the organizations, producer organizations that are private. They are territorial agents of rural development. So that's why it is important that they are significant, that they have a leadership in their role. And also, as there's a need for strong public institutional coordination with a territorial focus. And this needs to be trained, both producers from organizations, but also the territorial agents of these institutions, these public institutions, so that everything is catered for. This will enable us to expand the coverage of these producer organizations, and also there have to be extension agents as facilitators of the implementation of rural development public policies. We have two models of interventions. There's one that has to do with on-farm interventions, that is carried out by the beneficiaries and assisted by a territorial rural development agent, that have been enabled by the Ministry of Livestock, Agriculture and Fisheries, because they have fulfilled with all the organization, with all the characteristics. And also the second model includes on-farm group and organization interventions, but in this case, they are assisted by multidisciplinary technical teams from public agricultural institutions, and they are implemented in territories or circumstances where it is not possible to apply the first model. And this one is executed within the framework of a particular agreement that is signed by the General Direction of Rural Development. So I will finish around here, but I am, of course, open to any questions. Thank you very much.
Gracias, Clara. Thanks a lot for this insight into Uruguay, which is also quite complex.
Esta presentación sobre la...
And I see there are also a whole lot of actors. Seems to be they could also be grouped a bit the same clusters as it is shown for Germany. That also the Ministry of Livestock, Agriculture and Fishery has quite a strong role in this whole process. So I see quite some similarities between both systems. For sure, there are also differences. And so I also see for the future possibilities to sit together, to exchange and possibly learn from each other and get some inspirations from both sides. So there is a chance for us as a project to have a dialogue on the AKIS system and the role of government in research and also extension advisory systems and also definitions what we are talking about. As far as I see, there are no questions up to now in our Q&A section. There is not a question, but there is a thanks to the wonderful overview on the German AKIS from Peggy. And she mentioned that she has never heard a better explanation on the German AKIS than she heard today. So this goes to Maria. Thanks a lot for this. And well, I'm not sure if people are too shy to put their question in written and ask. Please, everybody participating, if you have any questions you would like to get responded now, any inspiration for discussion, please type it into the Q&A section. In case you feel that your question is rather too big or too extensive to respond to it today, right now. Or if you want to get in touch with one of the speakers, you can also send us a message either directly to their colleagues if you have written down their contact details, or you let us know in our project info@dialogoagro, in our email that I put in the chat that you can see. So there are different possibilities to get your question responded. There is another one. Thanks, Adriana, for the congratulations for the presentation, and that it is also very interesting to see the German ecosystem. Thanks, Adriana. So we can, everybody interested in knowing more, get in touch. There is one question for Clara. Can you see this in the webinar chat? It's about, Clara, could you explain better about the mayor involvement, or to say, what is this? It's, yeah.
Yes, excellent question. Thank you. There is an office network for economic development. It is not working really fluidly now, but it was important in other times. They did achieve important things, but it is relatively important when it comes to enabling agricultural products to be sold in short circuits, to be traded, for instance, jams or other products, for instance, cold cuts. So for everyone to agree on the bromatological regulations, this network offices is very important among the different mayors. We try to do it through the Congress of Mayors, but sometimes it cannot be done on a national level, which would be the Congress of Mayors. Rather, they reach smaller agreements, let's say between two departments, two regions. I don't know if I'm clear in the answer, but yes, it is one of the possible paths to be taken to be able to reach agreements and, well, achieve unique or a single registry, for example, among other things.
Thanks, Clara. I hope this question was nicely responded. And there's another question of something about the methodological competences of the advisors. And generally, I guess it's everywhere. Like if the quality of the advisors is not sufficient, also the information then they will transfer or they will provide will not be best. How is this, what to say, education system for the education or education of advisors?
Yes. Each program or each plan has its own previous training with the objectives of this specific plan or program. For example, now we are launching a national plan for cattle breeding, and this is just one of several examples. But in general, each program or plan has their own specific training with the specific topics that they're going to deal with. In the last years, we have had as transversal topics gender equality and also violence related to gender, and also dialogue between generations and agroecological topics or the transitions into agroecology. So there is no, so to round up the answer, each program or project has its own previous training, and sometimes this training can be extended throughout the extension of the project by peer exchange or practice within the communities. Sometimes this is accomplished, other times it is not, but there is no sustained training of these agents, these extension agents. There are some projects in this matter, but they haven't been put into practice yet. I hope I have been
Thanks,
clear
Clara.
with my answer.
Okay.
I would like to have a question. I mean, I know that the AKIS in Europe, it's a research project also, as far as I understood. So there might be a whole lot of experience from other European countries. We also heard about the complexity in Germany. We heard about the complexity in Uruguay. To the Germans, are there any experience from other European countries where you would say, this is the best of example, this is the one to copy? Or does it exist? Or what are the ingredients to have a perfect system? Maria?
May I? Yes. When we have been doing this AKIS description and the reporting, where we analyzed all the AKIS systems in all European countries, we came across one very, well, we say better than the others, which is in Ireland. Ireland has a system where actually government is heavily involved, but not directly, but they have this, we talk about a hybrid institution, which unites actually advisory work, education, research in one big chunk of agency, so that also the ways are very short and that the exchange of information is very short also. So the linkages are quite strong there. Yeah, that is the big, let's say, positive element. But when we dived a little bit deeper into it, of course, then we found out that the private advisor are relatively kicked out, I would say. Now, they do not have access so easily to that system. Yeah. So they are more or less out. So if you have a real, if you want to work with a private advisor, they have a bit of a problem to access information. Of course, it's easier if you are in an organization, you have, I mean, you may share a platform and so on. So already this, now the infrastructure and everything, if you share it, it's easier. But for outsiders, it was a bit more difficult. But otherwise, it's said that Ireland is a real good one.
Samuel, from the governmental part, any ideas, recommendations for the perfect system from politics part side, looking more from above?
Well, we are not exactly politics, but I think from what I know now, the AKIS in Germany is also one advanced one, without, like, it has already more starting from the dual education for the workers. I don't know the correct term, but starting with that, the high practice aspect, for example, in university studies, where you can learn, where you can study agriculture, there's also a high focus on practice. So I think we are already quite advanced in Germany without placing too much attention on the AKIS, and that's why we also have a lot to achieve. But as I would put it, like, the perfect system cannot exist. So it's just always advancement possible.
Thanks, Samuel. Clara, any insight from you for the last 1-2 minutes before closing the event?
Yeah, muted.
Yep. No, possibly. Clara, you are still muted. So let me see if I can. Anyway, so seems to have challenges with the mute and not mute. Anyway, any questions, any comments, please send us a message. If you don't have the email, write us to the project. We will give you the contact of the presenters. It was a pleasure to have the presenters with us, also having the participants interested in learning more about Uruguay and Germany, getting an insight from different perspectives. For me, it was very interesting to dive deeper, to learn, to get an overview. Everybody interested in giving follow-up on one or the other topic, on German side, on Uruguayan side. If you see something where we could link up, let us know, and we will jointly analyze if we will have another webinar, if we will go for a workshop, or whatever possibility to get together. And well, let us see what will be the next topic of our next webinar, which we will have supposedly in January or February next year. And in the meantime, thanks to everybody, wishing you nice days before Christmas, and then also a good start into the new year. And with this, I close the session. Thanks to everybody. And as we already informed, we will have a little evaluation for you. And happy to send you the link and request your feedback. Thanks a lot for your time, participation, and also the congratulations we received, or the presenters received. Thank you very much, and we'll be in touch. Bye.